At the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe, a new governor has taken over, and John Mshavanu will be announcing his monetary policy in just a few minutes in this building. Zimbabweans are holding their breath. There's talk of introduction of a new currency. There's talk of stabilizing the exchange rate and making sure that the local currency is defended, in the words of Government Finance Minister Mthuli Ncube. Now, just in a moment, we will walk in behind these doors and we'll hear the monetary policy and the direction that the money in this country is going to take. My name is Blessed Mhlanga for Heart and Soul TV and Radio. Join us as we give you the monetary policy here at the RBZ.
Thank you, Deputy Governor. May I recognize the presence of the Deputy Minister of Finance, Honorable David Mnangagwa, the outgoing Governor, Dr. John P. Mangonja, the Chairman of HR for the Board of Directors of the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe, Mr. Edwin Manikai, other board members here present, members of the Monetary Policy Committee, deputy governors, senior managers of the Central Bank, ladies and gentlemen. Let me begin by saying that this monetary policy statement that we are presenting this afternoon is a product of wide consultation. We interacted with the outgoing governor. In fact, we started talking about this monetary policy statement as late as last year. As the deputy governor said, we apologize for the delay in releasing the monetary policy statement, but it was because we wanted to fine-tune it and make sure that all the CPs are in place. Thank you, Governor, for the hard work that you put into coming up with this monetary policy statement. We also consulted with the bankers, CZI, Chamber of Mines, civic society, and also with some consultants that we got from international organizations like the IMF and the World Bank. And so the end product of all these consultations is this monetary policy statement which we are presenting today. This recalibrated monetary policy statement aims to address the current state of affairs in as far as price and exchange rate stability in the economy is concerned. It is informed by two pillars, namely restoration of price and exchange rate stability and also remonetizing the local currency so that it serves its purpose as a medium of exchange and a store of value. As you know, one of the key functions of the central bank is price and exchange rate stability and also inflation management. Before I go into the actual monetary policy statement itself, I just want to touch briefly on developments on the global market. I think you are all aware that as a result of the geopolitics, we are seeing sluggish growth in the world. And for 2023, world growth was estimated at 3.1% and remaining the same in 2024. Going closer to home, yes, our economy has been characterized by high inflation, and this is the reason why we are here today, to try and see how we can address this scourge, which has been upon us for quite a while. However, despite the high inflationary environment, I'm pleased to say that our economy grew by 3.5% grew by 5.5% in 2023, and is projected to grow at 3.5% in 2024. But that is before we factor in the impact of this induced drought. And if you do factor it in, it's been said that we might end up with 0% growth with no policy intervention. But if we do have some policy interventions, we could achieve a better figure than that. On the external front, we continue to record the current account surplus, currently standing at 125.6 million for 2023. Now, in coming up with this monetary policy statement, we first of all did a diagnostic to say, what is it that we are trying to address? And we came up with 5 key issues that need to be addressed. First of all, there is the issue of currency and exchange rate stability. We have witnessed exchange rate instability, currency instability in this market, and this has been driven by mainly a high demand for foreign currency as a store of value. What used to happen was that, and what is happening even until today, is that if you get hold of a Zimbabwe dollar, you would want to quickly change it into a foreign currency, and more importantly, into US dollars, so that you maintain the value of your money. There's also been reduced confidence due to continued currency instability and volatility, and the wide margin between the interbank rate and the parallel market rate. There's also been reduced use of the local currency for domestic transactions. We've seen most outlets now wanting to quote prices in US dollars and not accepting the local currency. And there's also been lack of certainty and predictability when it comes to the exchange rate. Each morning, someone will just think up an exchange rate of their choice, and that is the rate that applies. So, in view of those factors that I've mentioned above, this policy is going to look at implementing a market-determined exchange rate determination system. And I'll talk about that more later when I give you the measures that we are going to implement. The second issue was on financial sector stability. Fortunately, this is not an issue at all. Our financial sector is very sound and stable. We have not seen any troubled banks. And as they say, if it's not broken, don't fix it. So there is nothing much that we are going to do. We just continue on the good work that the outgoing governor has done in maintaining discipline within the banking sector. Third issue, money supply growth. I've said in a previous meeting that if printing money could make nations prosperous, then there would be no nation which is a third world nation. We've learned from past experience that it does not help to print money. Certainly not under my watch. It's not going to happen. The next problem is foreign exchange mobilization and reserve accumulation. For a central bank to be able to defend its currency, it has to have reserve. And the governor has been doing a lot over the past year, quietly building up reserves. And I think, again, we'll talk about that later. And those of you who were here yesterday would have witnessed the result of some of the work that he's doing, that he has been doing. And the fifth issue is to do with the promoting of local demand for the local currency. Currently, we are being told that the economy is trading 80 to 85% in US dollars, 15 to 20% in local currency. Also, we have seen that there is a major outcry on the part of the citizens when it comes to the problem of change. If you go to a shop to buy anything, you give them $1, they give you change in the form of sweets, chocolates, which you don't need. And clearly we need to address the issue of currency divisibility. There have also been issues to do with lower denomination notes, people not accepting certain denominations of the local currency, sold notes, the list goes on. So to that extent, this policy seeks to come up with measures to deal with demand for the local currency. Now, turning to the new monetary policy measures that we want to introduce. First of all, we said, what are the objectives of this monetary policy statement? What is it that we are trying to achieve? 4 things. Number 1, we want a solid and stable national currency for this country. It hasn't happened for many years, and it's time we had that in place. We want a stable and sustainable exchange rate. We want robust policy credibility and restoration of market confidence. It is my wish that after speaking today, subsequent monetary policy statements will be just to say we are walking the talk. What we said we're going to do is what we are going to continue doing. We want a stable and sustainable macroeconomy as envisioned in Vision 2030 and also in NTS 1. So with those 4 pillars in mind, we would want to implement the monetary policy statement in a sequential manner. Some of the things have already started happening. You just have not been told about it. First of all, determination of a market-determined exchange rate, efficient and optimal money supply management, introduction of a new structured currency, anchoring of the currency on reserves, mainly gold and foreign currency balances, and of course other measures that I'm also going to cover later on. Let's start with the adoption of market-determined exchange rate system. You would have noticed that from January, the central bank has allowed the exchange rate to float freely and to be determined by market forces. And we've been watching, because that is what you have asked for in the past, and we say, there you have it, the rate is floating. And the rate has been moving, and I'm happy to say the gap between the interbank rate and the parallel market rate has reduced significantly because of that policy stance that we adopted. So this is something that has already been implemented and that we'll continue implementing going forward. We are going to have a foreign exchange market that is managed on a willing seller, willing buyer basis. The central bank is going to play a role in that it is going to use funds from the 25% forex surrender to ensure that there is liquidity in the foreign exchange market. efficient and optimal money supply management. Under my watch, we are going to ensure that at any one time, reserve money growth is contained within the limits of the growth in gold and foreign currency reserves that we have. We are also going to continue on the tight monetary policy stance that has been the hallmark of the central bank up until now. And above all, I don't believe in quasi-fiscal activities. It's not going to happen under my watch. My mandate, as spelled out in the Reserve Bank Act, is very clear. And I have no intention whatsoever to do other people's jobs. I'll do my job as central bank governor, as defined in the Reserve Bank Act. In that respect, we have moved all quasi-fiscal obligations that had been created, some not out of our making. I think the governor will tell you that we had a foreign exchange crisis and he had to do something to address that. In fact, he has a good term for that. He calls them quasi-foreign currency fiscal operations. But that is the past. We are not going to be involved in any quasi-fiscal operations. We've moved the balances to the Treasury in an effort to clean up the balance sheet of the central bank. In that respect also, people have said that, well, the problem is that Treasury from time to time will come and borrow money from the central bank. Again, under my watch, if there is going to be any accommodation at all to Treasury, it will be within the limits contained in the Reserve Bank Act. And the Reserve Bank Act is very clear in that respect. Let's move on to introduction of a new structured currency. I've been receiving questions to say, what is a structured currency? And let me read the definition of a structured currency for all of you to see, to understand. A structured currency is generally defined as a currency that is pegged to a specific exchange rate or currency basket and backed by a bundle of foreign exchange assets, potentially including gold. This means that a central bank can only issue domestic notes and coins when fully backed by a foreign reserve currency or foreign exchange assets, and that the currency is fully convertible in the reserve currency on demand. That is the definition of a structured currency. The structured currency that we are introducing as Zimbabwe is going to be backed by a basket comprising foreign exchange that we already hold in our nostro accounts and precious metals that we are collecting as royalties from precious minerals that are being mined in this country. And we are holding these as reserves at the central bank, and these comprise mostly gold. So, with effect from today, the 5th of April 2024, banks shall convert the current Zimbabwe dollar balances into the new currency, which shall be called the Zimbabwe gold. Z, capital Z, small I, capital G, ZiG in short, to foster simplicity, certainty, predictability in our financial affairs. The new currency will co-circulate with other foreign currencies in the country. I've been seeing stories on social media, people saying the central bank wants to convert our nostro balances into ZiG. Nothing of that sort is going to happen. Certainly not under my watch. I don't believe in taking people's assets. The multi-currency regime is there to stay until 2030, as enunciated in the SI. And the ZiG currency is going to co-circulate in the economy with all the other currencies that we have been using. The swap rate will be guided by the closing interbank exchange rate today, and will be used to make legitimate conversions of all Zimbabwe dollar balances in the banking sector, all loans and advances made by the banking sector, all Zimbabwe dollar denominated treasury bills, all outstanding auction allotments, all export surrender requirements, obligations, all prices of goods and services, and any other denominated obligations. So if you owe someone or someone owes you $1 million Zimbabwe dollars, it is converting into ZiG. You don't want someone saying, I owe you Zimbabwe dollars and it no longer exists, so I won't pay you. It's going to convert. On conversion, all current Zimbabwe dollar balances, banks are directed to rename all the Zimbabwe dollar accounts as ZiG accounts. In other words, what used to be RTGS and operating under the RTGS platform is now ZiG. Gold-backed digital tokens accounts, which were previously known as ZiG, will no longer be known as ZiG, but will be known as gold-backed digital token accounts or GBDT accounts. So there is that demarcation. Gold-backed digital tokens are not the ZiG currency. They are an investment instrument as they have always been. All Zimbabwe dollar notes and coins held by account holders will be credited into their ZiG accounts using the applicable conversion rate, conversion factor. The banks will continue to accept these deposits for a period of 21 days after today. The Reserve Bank has made special arrangements for those in the outlying areas who may not have bank accounts, and we have made arrangements with POSB and AFC Commercial Bank, and they will take their cash to these banks, and that cash will be converted for ZiG. However, KYC will apply. If anyone is going to bring notes worth above $100,000, we need to know where you got it and why you've been keeping it. This is usual KYC requirement. Issuance of new banknotes and coins. ZiG coins are going to be issued, ZiG notes and coins are going to be issued in denominations of 1 ZiG, 2 ZiG, 5 ZiG, 10 ZiG, 20 ZiG, 50 ZiG, 100 ZiG, and 200 ZiG. And then for divisibility, we are also going to have coins, which will be half a ZiG and a quarter of a ZiG, to complement that. Because as I said earlier on, we've been having a problem of change where someone, because 1 ZiG, when you work out roughly, is going to be equal to 6 US cents. If we leave it at 1 ZiG, it means the smallest thing you can buy will be for 6 US cents. So we need to further break down that 1 ZiG into smaller coin denominations. This is the new currency. It's specimen, so if you think you're going to spend it, it won't work. But can you pass it around so that people can see? And can I please have it back after everyone is seen? Okay. Oh no, they've got it. Okay. This is 5 ZiG. Okay. This is 1 ZiG. This is 2 ZiG. 2 ZiG.
Sorry, to the government.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
This side, please. This side. This side. Can you hold the
Back to your right, please. Thank you. One more.
Thank you. So, what is going to anchor this currency? Because I gave you the definition of a structured currency, and it says that such a currency must be anchored by reserves in the form of forex or by commodities such as gold. ZiG shall at all times be fully anchored and fully backed by a composite basket of reserves comprising foreign currency, precious metals, mainly gold, received by the Reserve Bank as part of in-kind royalties and kept in the vaults of the bank. Foreign currency balances will be accumulated through market purchases from the 25% surrender, as well as sale of some precious minerals that may not have been received in the form of gold. For example, platinum. As of today, 5th April 2024, the Reserve Bank's reserve asset holdings comprise plus or minus 100 million US dollars in nostro balances. This is foreign exchange that we already hold. We also have 2,522 kilograms of gold worth 185 million, of which 1 ton of that gold is held offshore and the balance is onshore. Those of you who were here yesterday, you would have seen that out of the need for transparency and also for me to confirm to His Excellency that I have taken over what Dr. Mangunja left in the Central Bank. We opened the vaults of the Central Bank and you were able to see the gold that we are holding. I saw that on social media, some of you were saying, oh, you only got 2.5 tons of gold, you were converting it and coming up with a number and converting it to import cover. And then I say to myself, are these people real economic analysts? Don't they know that Zimbabwe is 80 to 85% dollarized? Therefore, we already have 85% of the money circulating in this country as foreign exchange before we even factor what is going to be converted to ZiG. As it stands currently, our entire local currency component of reserve money, which is what we reserve money in Zim dollars, as it stands, is at 2.6 trillion Zimbabwe dollars. If you convert that at today's closing price, it will give you a closing interbank exchange rate. It will give you almost 80 million US dollars. Now, let's do the maths. I told you that I've got 100 million cash in nostro balance, and I've got 185 million worth of gold, total 285 million. This entire market, the Zim dollars that are circulating, are worth 80 million. I can buy the entire stock of Zimbabwe dollars, all of it, without stressing the central bank, because I got more than 3 times cover. So, as I said to the bankers early this morning, if you want to dare me, if you want to bet against the dollar, it's game on. Because I will buy all your currency. And then, when I talk about the other measures that are coming, and when you're desperate for that ZiG, I'll sell it to you at my price. Also, just for noting, last year the central bank was selling gold coins because some of you were saying, oh, where is all that gold? It's in your pockets. We gave you gold coins and you were paying for those in Zim dollars. And that's almost a ton of gold that we sold to you. But some of you were saying there's some missing gold somewhere. My brother, Dr. John, is a Christian. He doesn't take people's money. Exchange rate management system. So the starting exchange rate, as I said, will be determined by the prevailing closing interbank rate. And I've just been given the numbers today so that those of you who are good at maths can do their maths. The rate, the interbank rate today closed at 33,903.9916. And the gold PM fix as for yesterday was $2,293.50 per ounce. That gives you a conversion factor of 2,500 and a starting exchange rate for the ZiG to USD of 13.5616. As you can see, we are doing everything transparently. Starting exchange rate, 13.5616. And that's the rate that you'll be opening with on Monday morning. Subsequent to this, the intervening exchange rate will be market determined, but mostly influenced by the price of gold and also the exchange rates for the other currencies that comprise the basket, as well as inflation differentials between us and the nations of the currencies that we'll be using. And the way it's obviously to determine the exchange rate will depend on, in the basket, if there's more gold than everything else, then the exchange rate will be more influenced than gold, other than by any other thing. Foreign exchange liquidity management. The bank will use 50% of the foreign currency proceeds from surrender requirements for strategic interventions in the foreign exchange market. What I'm saying is that when we get money being surrendered under the 25% arrangement, we use half of that money to go into the market. So over and above the reserves that the central bank has, we also have an additional amount that we'll be getting as we purchase foreign currency for surrender and putting it back into the market to ensure that the market foreign exchange liquidity situation is always liquid. The remaining currency, balance of the currency after that 50% will be used to satisfy government's foreign exchange requirements and obligations, and also will be used to increase the reserves of the central bank. I'm starting with total reserves of 285 million. Dr. Mangunda said to me, after 2 years, he wants to see all those vaults full of gold. And it's achievable. Foreign exchange, foreign currency retention thresholds remain standardized at 75% across the board, except for small-scale gold producers. So what we are saying is that unless you are a small-scale gold producer, everyone, when you receive your foreign exchange export receipts, you must surrender 25%. I am a stickler to rules. This country is not animal farm. There are no people who are more equal than others. If it's 25%, it's 25% for everyone. And I am not going to entertain anyone coming to my office and saying, but I'm so and so, I need to retain 100%. It ain't gonna happen under my watch. So if there are any exporters here beyond, I will not entertain those requests. We need foreign exchange to oil this economy, and it can only come from exports. And if you are going to say you are going to keep all your exports to yourself, how else is the nation going to get forex? Interest rate policy. The bank has recalibrated the bank policy rate from 130% per annum to 20% per annum, consistent with the new monetary policy framework. The overnight accommodation interest rate has been set at 5% above the bank policy rate, and the bank deposit facility interest rate at 7.5% below the bank policy rate, thus giving the starting interest rate corridor of between 11% to 25%. The bank policy rate and the corresponding interest rate corridor will be reviewed by the Monetary Policy Committee from time to time in line with inflation development. Banks have been accused in the past of not paying interest on deposits. I know I stand guilty as charged. I used to be one of them. I am no longer. So, going forward, the minimum savings and time deposit interest rates on ZiG are set at 9% and 7.5% below the deposit facility rate of 12.5%, meaning that 12.5% minus 9% is your minimum savings rate, and 12.5% minus 7.5% is your minimum rate for time deposits. Minimum interest rates on FCA deposits remain unchanged at 1% and 2.5% for savings and time deposits, respectively. Open market operations. Going forward, open market operations will be carried out to ensure that at any one time, reserve money will be fully backed by a corresponding composite basket of reserves comprising precious minerals, mainly gold, and foreign currency balances. In other words, we are never going to have a situation where if we have got $1 in reserves, we have got $1.10 in currency circulating. No. We will have $1 or less in currency in circulation. All non-current interest-bearing non-negotiable certificates of deposits, NNCDs on ZiG, in ZiG, beyond the optimal liquidity level and above the encumbered, and those encumbered by foreign exchange currency structures, will be converted into tenures of 1 year and above. Statutory reserve requirements. The statutory reserve requirements for demand deposits in ZiG and savings and time deposits in ZiG remain standardized at 15% and 5% respectively. However, in order to continue to foster continued financial sector stability in the face of increased lending in foreign currency, measures will be put in place to enhance foreign exchange liquidity, moderate foreign currency exposures, and mitigate against payment gridlocks in the banking sector. In this regard, the bank is increasing the statutory reserve ratio for foreign currency demand deposits from 15% to 20% with effect from 8 April 2024. What I mean by that is that when banks lend money in Forex from local Forex deposits, there is an element of printing money, and we do not want to create virtual dollars in this market, as has happened before in 2017. Hence, we are introducing this measure to try and curtail lending using local foreign currency deposits in this market. We have no problem if a bank secures a line of credit, they can lend 100% of it. The bank is, the statutory reserve requirements for foreign currency time and savings deposits shall, however, remain at the current level of 5%. All treasury bills previously denominated in Zimbabwe dollars will be converted to ZiG and the interest rate adjusted accordingly. As I mentioned earlier on, there has been an outcry as far as bank charges are concerned. Again, I used to be in the commercial banking sector, and I stand guilty as charged. But we cannot continue to have a situation where a tobacco farmer from Chendambuya sells their tobacco, uses the money, and maybe leaves $100 in the account, and by the time they come back next season, the money is now minus 100. What happened to the 100? So, with immediate effect, banks will not charge monthly bank maintenance or service charges for individual bank accounts with a conservative balance, daily balance of $100 and below, or its equivalent in ZiG for a period of up to 30 days. At least if you leave your $100 in your account end of season, you should be able to find it in your account beginning of next season. Other supporting measures and obligations. I did talk earlier that one of the things we wanted to address was promoting the increased demand for local currency. In accordance with Statutory Instrument 218 of 2023, the use of the multi-currency in the economy for the settlement of any transactions was extended to 31 December 2030. And that is standing. It's a statutory instrument. Accordingly, measures will be put in place to gradually promote the increased use of the new structured currency as we move towards 2030. In order to foster demand for the local currency, government will make it mandatory for companies to settle at least 50% of their tax obligations on quarterly payment dates, QPDs, in ZiG. This is something that we have already discussed and agreed with the ministry, and they will be issuing a statutory instrument in that regard. Also, the Reserve Bank, will continue with this strict liquidity management in order to mitigate against shocks that cause spikes in the exchange rate. Auction allotment obligations. Following the introduction of a refined interbank market, all outstanding auction allotments will be converted into ZiG and issued out as NNCDs for a period of 24 months at an interest rate of 7.5%. This process will allow beneficiaries to maintain the value of their proceeds under the new framework. By the way, I may not have made it very clear, the auction is dead. We are not going to have the foreign exchange auction anymore. The last auction was held last year, and that is the last auction. Outstanding payments for auction surrender obligations, or outstanding payments for foreign exchange purchased by Treasury under the 25% surrender requirement will be converted to a ZiG-denominated instrument with a tenor of 1 year at an interest rate of 7.5% per annum. Gold coins and gold-backed digital tokens. Gold coins and gold-backed digital tokens shall continue to be used as investment instruments and to manage liquidity in the economy with a view to stabilizing the currency and the exchange rate. As already indicated, the gold-backed digital token is no longer called ZiG, but is now going to be called GBDT. By 8 April 2024, which is on Monday, all mobile network operators who are essential to the National Financial Inclusion Strategy will also be expected to ensure that their customers can effortlessly transition from Zimbabwe dollar wallets to ZiG wallets. Domestic pricing of goods and services. Once the local currency is denominated in ZiG, all domestic traders are expected to consistently modify their pricing systems in line with the currency reforms. with immediate effect, prices for goods and services shall be converted using the conversion rate that I mentioned earlier on, and thereafter quoted in ZiG for the transacting public's convenience. Within 7 days from today, all entities other than banks and MNOs are expected to have completed the configuration of their systems to conduct business in ZiG. Ladies and gentlemen, if we implement these measures, we would expect them to have an impact on inflation, which we are estimating to end the year at between 2 and 5% annually. So, what are the takeaways from this monetary policy statement? We have introduced a new monetary policy framework that will enable stability, simplicity, certainty, and predictability. And I hope you assist us in making this currency work. I thank you. I think we will take questions. Dr. Nachi, if you can. Yeah.
Let me ask you to join me in thanking our governor for the eloquent presentation. And so, as you all expected, the moment has come for us to create an environment of stability, predictability, and certainty, and therefore to engender confidence in not only the currency, but also the economy at large. Let me tell you with no hesitation that I am extremely excited, and so is everybody at the Reserve Bank and within government, I hope, that these measures will go a long way from resolving some of the problems that we've been facing as a nation. With your indulgence, Governor, I will ask that we take 2 sets of questions. We'll begin with at least 5 to begin with, and then we will take another set of 5. But as you know, the governor's time and the officials' time is limited. I will ask that those who don't get a chance not to despair. They can send their additional questions through our email at the Reserve Bank, info@rbz.co.zw. I will give you that email address again later. So I will take the first 5. Let me begin by the gentleman over here.
My name is Dynamos. I'm with Voice of America. Governor, you have said 13 times, not under my watch. This would happen, this should not happen. But we have heard before, someone saying if the RTG falls from 1 to 1, I'm resigning. What will you do if what you've said 13 times will not happen under my watch happen?
Okay, I wish there was a lady's hand. Is there one? At the back there, please. At the back, I can't see you.
My name is Emilis. I just wanted to find out if you did say that the ZiG dollar balances are 80 million, why bother? Because it's such a small percentage and you're going through this whole process to protect small US dollar balances. Thank you.
Okay. Gentlemen, I think that gentleman raised up his hand first. Then I will come to you and to you. Those will be the first 5.
Thank you very much. My name is Blessed Mhlanga from Heart and Soul TV and Radio. I want to find out the prices of commodities that are going to be converted to ZiG. Are they going to be changing daily, tracking the exchange rate? Because, for instance, if today the bread is 1 ZiG and there's movement on the exchange rate, it means tomorrow you wake up and it's 1.5 ZiG or 1.25 ZiG. Is that movement not going to undermine the confidence and the desire to keep the local currency?
And I said, the gentleman over here.
My name is Sylvester Katunani from Sly Media TV. I've heard the governor say that they are disbanding the foreign currency auction. What is the good reason why it's not being continued?
So, one more over here.
Privilege Mushani, Deutsche Welle, German TV. How will in a nutshell, how will the new currency affect the daily financial transactions for the ordinary Zimbabwean?
I think that question is almost similar to the previous one. But anyway, thank you very much. I will call upon the governor to address some of these questions, and then we'll take another set, or the last set of 5 questions after his response. Governor. Oh, you have? They want you to come over here.
Okay, thank you for those very interesting questions. The first question was, what will I do if what I'm saying will not happen under my watch happens? Well, what I'm saying is not happening under my watch will not happen under my watch. Because I will not allow it to happen. I don't know why you think I will allow it to happen. I've just told you who I am and the values that I stand by. Why should I change? Okay, I hope that answers your question. Happiness says we have 80 million worth of Zimbabwe dollars in the economy. Why are we doing all this to protect only 80 million? We are doing what we are doing to ensure that our local currency does not die. As I said, we were already in a situation where almost 85% of transactions are being conducted in US dollars because our local currency was not living up to the function of store of value. We are going to restore that function of store of value so that we can start reviving our currency. So we are starting at 80 million worth, and as we get more reserves, we will gradually be moving towards greater use of the local currency. It is my wish that currently we are at 80-20. If we can get maybe to the year at 80-30, 70-30, the next year 60-40, the year after 50-50. By the time you get to 50-50, people will be indifferent as to which currency they are using. And that way, we regain use of our local currency. Blessed says prices will be fluctuating daily, but exchange rates by their nature are moving on a daily basis. But one does not expect the volatility to be such that it will cause massive disruptions. We will have a basket comprising of gold, comprising of other precious minerals, comprising of foreign currencies. And this is how exchange rates have always, if you go into any country, you don't get, unless you have a fixed exchange rate system, the exchange rate is bound to change on a daily basis. Forex auction was disbanded. Why? Well, it was disbanded because you have always said you want a market-determined foreign exchange system. So you did what you want. And so you're asking me why we did it. And how will the new currency affect the daily financial transactions of the ordinary person? First of all, stable currency will ensure that we don't see massive price swings on a day-to-day basis. Divisibility, I didn't mention, we want a situation where you'll be able to go and buy and get change. And transactional capability, once we stabilize our currency, it will be more accepted in the economy, and we should see more and more people transacting in our own currency. I hope I have done justice to that question. Sorry if I was a bit too brushed, but you can't ask me to change my character.
Let's take the next 5. Let's begin at the back. Right at the back.
Yes, thank you so much, Jamusan Newsday. Governor, you have put your head on the block, but we are facing extraordinary situations like the drought this year, where we expect some extraordinary measures. I'm going to stick with what you say that we are not going to see facile fiscal activities.
Okay. Are you going to stick to your word?
Thank you. My name is cholera. Governor, I know you are new on the job, but there is an issue of confidence. Yes, we could take your word, what you have said, but in terms of making sure that there is confidence in the market, what other mechanisms are there to make sure that if you say your reserves have gone up and we are increasing the local component, is there any independent body that will make sure that what you say is what is there? There's been talk before, even from the president, that there's going to be a current spot, but I didn't hear you talk about the current spot. Thank you.
Okay. Currency board going or not going. Let me take a lady, then I will come to you.
When do you expect to introduce this currency into the market, and how much of it are you printing? How much money are you printing?
Okay, when and how much are we printing? That's the 3rd. 4th over here.
Alright, Speaking of from ZiG from Stereo. Alright, what set of measures has the governor put in place in order to control the parallel market, which is the black market exchange rate, which usually propels the rate of exchange rate in the market, and so as to avoid seeing the newly introduced 10 ZiG notes being phased out in the next 3 weeks informally. And also, how is the new ZiG structured currency going to boost both local and foreign investor confidence? Thank you.
Okay. Now I'm going to take at the very most 2 more, and that's it. The rest can send their questions. You can send the questions. Let's go.
Keith Baptist, Russia Today. What are the potential benefits and risks associated with introducing a gold-backed currency in Zimbabwe's economic context?
Potential risks. I can assure you we've thought about risks as well, and Governor will tell you. Very last question. Very last question. You can send your questions at info@arabz.co.zw. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. You know we will never finish if we don't put a cutoff. Thank you very much. Let me call upon the governor to respond to this, and I want to thank you for coming. Be sure that all your questions will be attended to. The idea going forward is transparency, clarity, and openness.
Okay. Thank you very much for those questions. You did ask the question that there is a drought this year, and are we going to see a return to QFOs? And I think the answer to that is that when you are operating in an environment where you are in multi-currency, when it comes to import of grain, especially for the non-vulnerable, the private sector can easily take care of that. Because we have the forex. 85% of our currency circulating in this market is forex. So I do not see why National Foods should not just import grain, mill it, and sell it to the people. The chairman of National Foods is here with us. He can tell us if it's not possible. So then we then look at the vulnerable people, and government already has in place strategic reserves, and the president recently declared a state of emergency, and there are ways and means of mobilizing that food aid. And I don't speak on behalf of Treasury, but when you are in a situation like this, this is the time when you veramend certain budget items. If you were going to build a dam this year, and you have a drought and you need money to bring in emergency food, you build the dam next year and use that money to buy food. So I don't see where the Reserve Bank would then be asked to come in and do QFOs. Okay, someone then said the issue of confidence. How do we make sure it's there? And also talked about the issue of a currency board. What the exchange rate management system that we are introducing is a willing seller, willing buyer exchange rate system. The central bank will come in from time to time based on the basket, the interest rate, the inflation differentials between the currencies, and intervene if they see that the rate is not moving in the right direction. But otherwise, it's going to be a willing seller, willing buyer arrangement. How do we bring back that confidence? When I was speaking to the bankers this morning, I did say to them, I've got 100 million in nostro balances right now. And that amount is only backing 80 million worth of currency out there. So I said to them, if you have a forex invoice that needs to be paid, bring it and we'll pay it. And that is how you instill confidence. Because as they say, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. Only if I fail to honor those invoices would you say then that the structure is failed. But I don't see why the central bank will fail to honor it when you have a situation where we are more than 3 times covered in reserves. So that currency is, you may attack it any way you want, but you will not succeed. When do you expect to introduce the currency, and how much are you printing? The statutory instrument for the currency has been issued right now. The moment we started talking, they issued the statutory instrument. So the currency will be available immediately. How much are we printing? We've just mimicked what was there. Whatever was in cash and notes is going to be converted into cash and notes. So nothing is changing. What measures to control the market or the parallel market? Okay, the parallel market, the central bank is there to ensure that all legitimate transactions go through. I've just said we have enough forex to cover all the Zimbabwe dollar balances here, assuming that all the Zimbabwe dollar balances in Zimbabwe we're going to be chasing forex for legitimate transactions. We have enough forex. So if you want to go to the parallel market, I don't know why you are going there and what for, because you can still go to your bank and get the forex. So I'm not going to be fighting the parallel market. To me, it's an illegal market. And I don't see how it's going to disrupt, because anyone with a genuine, legitimate need for Forex will have that need satisfied. How is it going to bring about market confidence? I think I've already answered that by saying that we have enough Forex to back it. So if you don't believe it, you will see it when you present your invoice. What are the potential risks? Well, the only risk that is there is that if we don't have the reserves, we will not be able to increase the amount of money in circulation. And it's as simple as that. But that is what it should be. You eat what you kill. When we increase the reserves, we'll be able to increase the amount of money that's in circulation. If we don't have the reserves, we can't move. Would you say that, well, I think we have not gone the gold standard. I think let's make that very clear. We are just backing our currency using gold as one of many other metals that we're going to be using, and also foreign exchange balances. We're going to have a war basket of metals, gold, and currency backing the currency. So we are not on the gold standard. I thought I would just make that, that clear. And tradability outside the country, obviously ZiG is a new currency. It is a stable currency, and it will be up to the countries that want to accept it. But all we can say is that if you've got ZiG, it's, if you remember the definition that I gave you of a structured currency, it's a currency that can easily be converted into the currency that is anchoring it. And ZiG has got those characteristics. So I don't see any reason why ZiG should not be accepted in Zambia, but it's up to them. Thank you. The notes. They've been stolen.
They represent the notes.
Right in front of us.
This is a one ZiG note.
So please can you take it out a bit? The other side,
This is two ZiG. This is 5 ZiG.
Drop your hand a little. Thank you.
This is 10 ZiG. ZiG. Uh, 50 ZiG.
ZiG is the new buzzword in town. Now, all your local currency has now been converted to ZiG. There are serious takeaways around this. Number one, all bank balances that were in Zimbabwean dollars have to be converted to ZiG by tomorrow. Number two, number two, all prices in all the shops have to be denominated to ZiG. So it announces RBZ governor has announced the death of the Zimbabwe dollar and has resurrected the ZiG. The only difference is that the governor says the ZiG is backed by gold. Is backed by gold that is in the vault. And for now, what we know is that behind me, we have 2.5 tons of gold that are backing this currency, and a lot of United States dollars that are on the market. The question that is on many people's minds is, will this money hold value? Will the people of Zimbabwe trust this new currency? And will the black market fold to the new monetary interventions that have been announced by the Reserve Bank? Now, John II has taken over from John I. And with him, John I brought the bond note, which was backed by an Afrexim Bank facility of 200 million. John II has announced a currency that is backed by gold inside the RBZ's vault and by the United States dollar, foreign currency that is floating in the market. According to the RBZ, over 80% of transactions in Zimbabwe are now United States dollars, and just only around 80 million is in Zimbabwean dollars. This is Blessed Mhlanga for Heart and Soul TV and Radio here at the RBZ. Until next time, thank you for joining us.